Mansoor Delane, 22 years old, 6 foot 190, pre-combine pro day, cornerback out of LSU, widely considered the best cornerback in the class. He's a premium position, right? Cornerback, 4 years experience, 8 interceptions, 27 PBUs in those 4 years. Certainly a top 10 pick, barring something unexpected. 2025, he had 0 penalties, which is, obviously really impressive, especially considering his play style, which we'll get into a little bit later. 2025, he was targeted 35 times. He allowed 14 receptions, 0 touchdowns. He's an athletic, technical man corner, also good in zone, and his strong point, in my opinion, is his ability at the catch point. He's very physical there, really good at knocking the ball out and like that. So let's get into a few clips to start out here. Top of the screen here, we're going against TJ Parker from Clemson. Certainly not a bad player, right? He's running that slant. We're giving him no space, and we're going to knock the ball out. Really good coverage. Next play, top of the screen. Parker again, running a fade. Don't love the route. He's pretty slow there. Delane's all over it. That one never has a chance. He's all over it. Okay, bottom of the screen here. Parker again. Another slant. We're all over it. Parker gets his hands on it, but we're going to rip it out for the PBU again. Really strong performance here against a notable player. Nothing. All right. So next play here, top of the screen. We're going to be in a zone here. You might be thinking, hey, that's a bad throw. You're right. That is a bad throw. But what I like here and what shows up quite a bit for Delane is he reads the QB so often, and he understands the route concept as it's developing. So he kind of breaks out of his zone to come up and support on this. He sees this is open. He knows the ball's going there, so he's breaking. And he's either going to make the tackle if this guy catches the ball, or in this case, it's a little bit overthrown. He's going to pick it off. So just being in the right position, that's not by accident, right? That's him being an instinctual corner, making a good play. Nice job. All right. Concepcion here. By the way, I'll have a video on this player here in the next 2 or 3 days, probably. I'm going to do him and Sonny Styles next. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you leave a like on the video. Sorry, it's my dog playing with his toy. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'll plan on having about 50 of these prospects done pre-draft, and I might even do some more post-draft. Anyway, working against Concepcion here. Like what he's about. Mansoor normally, plays outside, but this is obviously their best guy. Kind of lose a little bit early there. Pretty solid release by Concepcion. Not awful by Delane, but he's athletic enough to close the gap there, and he's all over it. That one never really had a chance, despite a pretty decent release in favor of Concepcion. Not awful on Delane's part, but really good job there. Really tight coverage, and that shows up a ton on tape. Guys just aren't open. To be completely honest with you, he rarely gets beat. Really does a good job. Okay, next play, bottom of the screen here. 12 for Clemson. Fade. Same thing. It just never had a chance. He's not moving. Really good technique, patient feet. Understands leverage well, and that just never had a chance. He's all over it. Don't see this often here, but something you like to see stuff like this. So we're top of the screen here. We're going to blitz. He doesn't blitz often, but he comes, he understands, QB's throwing it, jumps up, gets a hand on it, right? For a guy that doesn't do that often, that's a pretty savvy play. And, game changing play. They ended up losing this game, but nonetheless, really good individual effort by Delane, batting that ball up in the air. Perkins gets the interception. Good stuff. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about his tackling. Overall, overall, solid tackler. He's not phenomenal, like, really big talking point. He's not bad. He had 5 missed tackles in 2025, which overall is pretty good. Obviously not perfect. We'll get into some tackling later. I would say he's middle of the road, nothing one way or the other. So we'll go through a couple of good clips here. We'll show a bad clip. But first, coming up, making a physical tackle on a running back there, right? You like to see that, right? Obviously, a back's a little bit bigger than us. Coming up, good form, wrapping up on his legs, making the play. Here we are. This one we're going to get blocked by the tight end. We're going to evade the block. Our team does a good job kind of blowing this up early, but we're there to prevent any shenanigans outside, right? Where if we're getting driven back, this guy might have a chance on the edge. We come up, contain the edge there by beating the tight end. Kind of assist on the tackle there. Good stuff. Good stuff playing the edge. See, maybe if he's getting destroyed by the tight end here, this guy might have a chance around the edge for a pickup, but does a good job. Okay. Next, same thing. He's going to get blocked by a tight end. And, he should lose the rep, right? I mean, he's getting blocked by a tight end. He doesn't, dominate the rep by any means, but he does a good job just making an arm tackle while getting blocked against a big player, Not crazy, but solid. Okay. So some of the bad, what are his flaws as a prospect? I think the main thing for Delane that will that's kind of up in the air for him as a prospect in his transition from college to NFL is how handsy he is. He's very, very physical throughout the route. Like I said, he hadn't been penalized in 2025, but you watch him and there's a lot of clips where he's all over guys. And sometimes on deep throws, fades, he's got really good coverage. Doesn't get his head around. And we know I'm personally not a fan of the pass interference rules in the current NFL, even as a former wide receiver myself in college. It's a really tough position to play corner. It's probably the second hardest, in my opinion, behind quarterback. I just think some of his play style, not getting the head around on maybe some underthrown balls, being handsy throughout the route, might be penalized, especially, depending on the crew, depending on the level. If he's a struggling player, they'll certainly call that. If he's playing well, they typically tend to let those higher end corners get away with a little bit more. So that's, tough to gauge right now, but I would say that's probably his main hiccup that I could foresee in the transition to the NFL here. He does miss some tackles. That's a clip here we'll see against Concepcion where he misses a tackle on the screen. As I mentioned, doesn't get his head around. And he could be slow in transition deep at sometimes, right? Getting into that final gear, which we'll get into after this play. So we like Concepcion, right? Like I said, subscribe. Be ready for the video on him. He comes in. Unfortunately, we're going to get bumped here. It's, not a ton you can do about that, but if you can see the down marker here, it's third. This is the first down. If we come up, make this tackle, it's going to be fourth and short, but they're in their own territory, right? So definitely more ideal than missing the tackle. and allowing a first down, right? So that's what he does. Misses the tackle. Concepcion actually turns it into a big play. So we'll see it from the other angle here. Full speed. Taking their time. Like and subscribe, guys. Here we go. He's got him. Good move by Concepcion, in all fairness, you know what I mean? But you're Delane, right? You're going to play a guy of his caliber better every single week on Sundays, right? So um, make the play. All right. This is actually a highlight, right? If you watch his highlights, they'll show this play, which it's not. It's not. So we're going against. Oh, sorry. He's in cover three, actually. So he's got the deep third over here, right? And his head's around. He's looking at the quarterback. Not a bad thing in zone, right? But he's just not kicking it into gear. I think he's a little bit slow. You watch his technique here, he's kind of sitting on it almost like he's expecting like a corner maybe, and it's not. He's going deep. So he's beat. He's beat. I mean, he's beat by 3 or 4 yards here. Let's go back. It's an underthrown ball. Like I said, doesn't get his head around, right? Maybe there early. I don't love that rule because it's, the quarterback's fault for throwing it short. Gets the PBU technically, but he's a little bit slow in transition. Like I mentioned, one of his weaknesses at times. Doesn't get his head around. Like I said, another weakness at times. But